Yeah!
It's Josh Williams here, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 46 for Wednesday, March 28th, 2018. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my listeners, of course. What are you going to be talking about this? I worked my last shift at the mobile shop. We did an absolute comedy staff party, got some books from DK, did all sorts of fun things. Going to tell you guys about them now. How are you, though? I hope you're doing good. I hope the week has been good to you. I had a good week last week. You know, had a couple of nerd days where I just sat around at home doing some nerdy board game stuff. I won't even bother wasting your time telling you guys about it. I just had fun. A little quiet me time. I started listening to an audio book too. I'll tell you guys all about that. The earliest thing I can remember last week that I did since chatting with you guys last was on Wednesday night. I went to a CODA meeting, and that stands for Codependence Anonymous, right? A CODA. I don't know, but I won't. I guess I can't really. Are you supposed to talk about them if I'm talking about my own personal experience? I think I can do that. One of the things I've learned about myself is I've got codependent tendencies, right? I tend to focus on others instead of myself, what others think of me, what others want of me, things like that. And I've been learning more and more about it. And I figured, I've got a friend who had suggested maybe checking one of those out. He let me know where one was in the neighborhood. So I went with said friend. And I won't name them again. It's anonymous. But I didn't know what to expect. I had an inkling that it was kind of part of a 12-step program, and those 12-step programs are usually very religious heavy, which I am not. All the things that I am heavy in, religion is not one of them. And I think that I was a little apprehensive about that. Not to say that there's nothing to be gained from one of these, but I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I figured if I get myself out and get talking about it and stuff, like maybe there's value. Maybe there's some tools and techniques and perspectives and things like that I can gain from this. So to just sort of let you guys know how I guess it goes is the idea of the meeting is that everyone sort of shows up. You read one of the steps, and I guess that's the step that you're supposed to focus on that week or what have you. Again, I've only been there once, and I guess the idea is that like they say, okay, so they read sort of their rule, which is that like there's no crosstalk. So if someone's sharing something or talking about something, you don't offer answers or any kind of I don't want to say rebuttal, but any kind of response is a better word. You don't offer any advice or anything like that. The person speaks, everyone goes, thanks for sharing. And then that's it. You break off into little groups to do this. And, I guess for myself, I was just listening to people share stories and things that are going on in their lives. My friend had said sometimes you just sit in a circle and you just stare at people for 30, 40 minutes. Nobody decides to share anything. And so no one shares. And I guess the reason I'm saying this is that for myself, I'm very open to the idea that, changes need to be made. I read a lot of stuff on it. I try to learn as much as I can, but I learn a lot from other people giving me information, giving me their perspectives, advices, things like that. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that every time someone gives you advice, you're going to take it and run with it, but it is nice to hear a different perspective than your own. I guess some people, I think what I shared in the circle was the fact that I didn't know what I was going to gain from joining this group. Because I said, to be honest with you, I have no problem sharing what's going on with me. I said, the problem is that I'm looking for perspective. And I said that, unfortunately, since all of the rules here is that none of you guys are allowed to respond, you're not allowed to offer your own suggestions, you're not allowed to do anything but thank me. I go, so I'm really just telling myself the same thing that I'm, living and going through in my head over and over anyways. And, I said, so I don't know how much value I'm going to get here. Plus, there's so much heavy, responsibility on giving yourself over to a higher power and accepting that you're powerless and this higher power is what's going to save you. And I'm like, personally, that's, kind of goes against what I'm trying to do, which is to take accountability for my own shit. Despite the fact that I have falls and things all the time. I make mistakes. I backslide constantly in the things I'm trying to do. I'm always aware at the end of the day that it's my action. So part of me really doesn't like the 12-step aspect that, you have to admit that you're completely powerless and only this higher power can save you. Kind of feels like you're teaching yourself to not take accountability. Or it's almost like You know how like whenever something bad happens, it's like it's you, but then whenever something good happens, that was God doing it for you. Like that kind of shit pisses me. It's almost like I get to take all the punishment, but none of the praise. It's kind of bullshit, you know? So anyways, I went to this meeting and, I mean, the only thing that I could say that I really was kind of nice was just, it's nice to see a room full of people who are trying to take accountability and make their lives better. That was cool, you know, but at the end of the day, I was saying with my friend as we left and walked out to the car, I was saying to him that, you know, I said, it's great that people are sharing. And he sort of described to me that, you know, some of these people who are here, the reason that these groups help is that, you know, they've kind of, you know, destroyed a lot of relationships in their lives or whatever. And they may not have anyone else that they can just express themselves to. And of course, like myself, I tend to exercise a lot of my personal demons, or at least come to an understanding by talking about it. But the thing is, I do that in my own head all the time. Like I turn things over and over and over again. And part of what I do is sharing with you guys on the podcast. Like I said, I mean, I do kind of have this outlet already where I can just sort of talk into the void and not really know who's listening and not know much, you know, about it and just sort of get it out there. So I think that the idea to sit down and then to just listen to other people's stuff and then, you know, share your own if you want, but then there's no feedback or whatever. I don't think that there's a lot of value in that for me. So I still will go a couple of times to see if there is any kind of corner changing on that. But, as I mentioned, my friend, as we were walking to the car, I said to him, I'm like, you know, I'm not looking to just talk and not get any feedback. I'm looking for the feedback. I'm looking for the advice. He goes, yeah, that costs money. It's called therapy. Sorry, called a psychiatrist. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So, that's what I did on Wednesday. That was my biggest step towards self-improvement last week that I would say. Maybe a couple other ones, but I think that was the biggest one. So I gave that a try. I got to say, I don't really think it's for me, but I'm going to still go another couple of times to make sure that I'm not just being overly critical the first time. But if it is just sitting in a circle and talking about, you know, where your life's at, like, you know, I already do that for an hour a week with you guys, and you listen at your leisure. So anyways, yeah, that was Wednesday. I think that, you know, the next thing that was really a big piss off, this week is, my glasses broke on Friday. I was getting ready to go out and, hold my glasses in my hand in a particular way that I always do to, you know, spray and wipe the lenses off. And then the arm right connected to the lens just bent in and broke. So I super glued it. I basically gave it a quick fix, but it's one of those things where, you know, I go, well, this is going to have to be replaced ASAP because it's only a matter of time before it breaks and I can't, you know, do a temporary fix. So if anyone who glasses knows that it's never cheap to have to do anything related to your glasses, it's always, you know, a couple $100 expenditure, you know, depending. So unfortunately though, they broke right when I was on my way to do a tasting. So I had no choice but to go do what I was going to do. There was no way I'd be able to get them repaired and, you know, get on to where I had to go. So, that was a thing. I did a tasting for Black Cow vodka. So this is an interesting little thing. I'll give them a free little plug. Black Cow vodka is made in the UK and England's Dorset coast, I believe, the West Dorset coast. And what they do is it's actually a vodka made entirely from milk. So what they do is they actually milk the cows. All right. And the cows are all grass fed and all this fun stuff, but they milk the cows. They take the milk and they separate the curds in the whey. The curds they use to make a black cow cheese, which I have not sampled, but, you know, would love to. They make especially a black cow cheese. And then the whey they use to make a whey beer, which is then like later blended and distilled down to, the final product, which is the Black Cow whiskey. It is I keep saying whiskey. I've been doing a lot of whiskey tastings. Black Cow vodka. So at the end, it's blended down and distilled to make a vodka. And the vodka is premium. It's about $50 a bottle. And I got to say, it tastes like vodka. Now you'd think, wow, vodka made from milk? Well, I got to tell you, it just tastes like vodka. So at the end, for me, the end of the day, you know, it's nice to have a story with everything, but it's got to taste like it's going along with that story. And Black Cow, while it tastes like vodka, I don't know, I'm not a super vodka drinker. So to me, you know, Smirnoff and Black Cow and Absolute and Polar Ice and all that stuff tastes the same. The only vodka I've ever had that didn't taste like the rest of them was Grey Goose. But yeah, so that was one of the samplings that I did. Actually, I think that was the only sample I did last week. I ended up meeting with my friend Tara, who was the, if I haven't mentioned it before, my good friend Tara is the one who designed the logo for the One Man Podcast, and she is a wealth of knowledge in promotion and marketing. So I met with her working on a project for something coming up. Just I think we're rebooting the webpage and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm met with her very briefly. I had to get out to something else. And then later that night, I played some board games with my brother. Went over to my brother's house, him, his wife, and I, and a couple of their friends, I think Cassie and Spencer, played some board games. We played a game, I think it was called Mission to Mars. That was a fun little game. You're basically just a bunch of astronauts getting into different shuttles and shooting to different parts of Mars, trying to, colonize it, getting as many people as possible in the areas. I can't remember how I quantified it, but there's games like that out there that feel very similar. Anyways, whatever. It was fun. It was pretty easy and fun. And then we played one called Colosseum, where you're all basically putting on plays, and there's a bunch of old Roman aficionados and aristocrats who are sort of walking around the board and stopping to see plays, and you get points and shit like that. But just fun. Most of the game is basically just trying to get the props you need to be able to put on plays. You buy new plays, and of course, whatever play you're putting on needs certain props, and you score by getting as many of the props as you can before putting on said play. Blah blah blah. Fun game is what it ended up being. It just ended up being a really fun little game, and that was my my late night Fridays. I'd had some drinks and played some board games with my brother, his wife, and them. So not too shabby. I think Saturday, I sat down and I had a really fun interview with my my good friend and amazing comedian David Pride. Luckily, you guys are hearing this before the podcast comes out. David is a great comic. I'm really looking forward to having that interview out for you guys. I'm actually the first interview I'm doing where I'm going to be peppering some different parts of his act from some clips and stuff like that into the podcast. So as we're chatting, you'll be able to hear little clips of his stand-up and stuff like that as well. But Dave's super, super funny guy. We actually ended up at one point in the podcast starting to talk about comic books because he's a big comic book fan. And I was chatting about the new movies coming out and stuff like that. And he's one of those guys who sort of likes the classic stories and looks at the movies differently. But it was a great chat with Dave. Dave is like I said, super guy. He's done lots of shows with me in the past, and I honestly love working with that guy. I'm looking forward for you guys to hear that episode, because again, it's always interesting to hear how these guys start. And Dave has done Just for Laughs, Winnipeg, Halifax. He's done numerous appearances on CBC as a debater, so he's an amazingly intelligent and disciplined writer too. Like, he writes a lot. So yeah, I definitely encourage you guys to see David Pride. He's just finished his run with Absolute Comedy, so unfortunately, you won't see him in Ottawa, Toronto, or Kingston for a little while. But good opportunity to maybe get on his mailing list or something like that. But I had fun chatting with Dave. We talked for probably 2 hours outside of the podcast too, just about a lot of different things. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to hang with him. We got to hang out again this weekend too, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Saturday after the podcast, I went and got my glasses fixed. Now, this is something I want to hopefully inspire some people out there, maybe save themselves the headache. So here's the thing. Like I said, my glasses broke right near the lenses. All right. So something that wouldn't have been able to solder back together. All right. Just so thin, the glasses styles that I liked have been for a long time, just a little bit of metal on the top. And then just the glasses lenses themselves exposed at the bottom, held in by tiny little plastic wires or whatever. The point is that I wasn't going to be able to get these things soldered. But when I called them, right, because as soon as they broke, I had to call the place I went to get them and just say, hey, look, is there any chance you guys might still have these frames in? Because, I need to get the frames replaced. I don't have to go out and buy the lenses again. The lenses are the most expensive part anyways. So they said, yeah, we'll see what we can do. If there's glue, we might not be able to solder them, but we might be able to find another set of frames. The worst case, we'll order in the frames that you need. It might cost you $50. So in my head for, a day or two, I got this number 50 clanging around in my head, $50, get them replaced. Okay, whatever. Worst case is $50, at least the way they made me think. And so I get there and, I show up, I talk to the guy who asks if he can help me, and I go, yeah, my glasses broke, and I put a little bit of super glue on them here just to sort of hold them together, buy me the time to get in. And, I spoke to someone on the phone who said you guys might be able to solder them, or you might be able to find another pair of frames, or, you might be able to order in the part that I need. And so the guy's like, oh yeah, let me get your file. So he gets my file, and he goes, yeah, it's been 7 years since you got these, we don't carry these frames anymore. I go, yeah, I know. That's what the woman on the phone's told me, they're not in anymore, but we might be able to find another set of frames or blah, blah, blah. And he goes, yeah, let me give me 1 second. He goes behind what feels like a pharmacy counter. You know what I mean? Where basically he goes behind a place where I can't see him anymore. Now he's working away on stuff. And he comes back like 3 minutes later, if that, and is like, yeah, so the best suggestion I can make for you is, you'll have to get a new prescription, so we can schedule an eye exam for you here if you want. And then what we'll do is, we'll just get you a whole new set of lenses, because your protective coating is coming off of the lenses. So we'll schedule a new eye exam, and then we'll get you a new set of lenses, and we'll get a new sets of frames and everything. That's the best route for you. So I'm like, so we're going to sell me everything possible from the ground up is what you're saying. And he's like, yeah, it's the only thing that we can do. He goes, because we could try to take the lenses out and put them in another pair to see if they'll fit, but they're going to, if they break, then there's nothing that we can do. And I go, well, they're going to break in. They're already broken. They're going to break anyways. So why don't we try that? He's like, yeah, I just don't know that then you're going to be screwed though. You won't have any lenses at all if we break them, and it'll take a little while to get that test done. And I go, look, the people on the phone told me this. So at this point, I guess the guy in charge comes over. And he goes, so what's going on here? And I say, like, in front of him, there's probably 6 staff in this tiny little glasses store. And they all kind of start listening to me. I go, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I called and they told me that there's a few different options that we have. You know what I mean? Like, we can look at a new pair, we can order in a part or whatever. Like, I don't know why she would suggest that if none of that was possible. I go, I show this guy my glasses. He goes, oh yeah, we don't carry those anymore. And then proceeds to tell me you have to sell me everything possible. I go, kind of feels like I'm at the mechanic right now. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't replace that filter. We're going to have to sell you new, everything. Like, I go, honestly, so one of the girls, right, the guy's like, yeah, I don't think there's anything we can do. Like, he's like, I've never taken glasses out of them and super glued to the glass. I go, I didn't put any super glue on the lenses. I said, I took a toothpick and I poked it into super glue, and I very carefully put it around the crack only. He's like, yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take it out of the lenses if they're super glued to the frames. It's going to break. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know if you're listening to me right now. And then one of the women came over and was like, well, what size glasses are they? And she's pregnant, by the way. So already she's at a disadvantage only because she's probably more physically uncomfortable and irritable. I'm not saying she was irritable, but we just know how pregnant women are. They're all, oh, I'm hormonal all the time. So this woman came over, immediately better-natured, better temperament, pregnant, so she's at a disadvantage, in my humble opinion. And she's like, well, what size are they? And the guy's like, oh, the 19. She's like, I think I have a set of 18s that might fit. So she, all right, takes the initiative to get up, goes over to the wall, and within less time than it took this other guy to tell me that they don't carry my model anymore, she comes back with a set in her hands, and they're like, well, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the glasses out, though. They might be glued in. I might break the lens. I go, again, if your only option that you're giving me is you have to sell me all new glasses anyways, then breaking anything that we're holding right now shouldn't matter anyways, right? Because that's the only option. So he goes, well, which one did you glue? I go, this side here. And he goes, I'll take the other lens out. Takes it out, tests it out. Oh, it fits. What do you know? Big fucking shocker. So he goes, well, I'll have to tighten this a little bit. I go, all right. So what's it going to cost me? He goes over to the wall and he's like, well, the only frames that it fits are these guys right here that we tried, and they're 200 and something bucks, but we're having 50% off right now. So we get them for like 120 or whatever. I was like, all right, that's fine. 120 is a lot more reasonable than $100 for an eye exam, $400 for my frames, or my new lenses with all the transitioning, everything. And then plus like another 200 and something bucks for like, you're trying to sell me a $700 solution and you're telling me like, oh, you can do it for 115. What do you know? So anyways, he's like, yeah, give me 20 minutes. So lo and behold, come back, because he told me I might end up breaking the one that has the glue on it, but I should be able to do it. Come back in 20 minutes. Come back. What do you know? Everything worked. Everything fit. 140 change out the door. And I've got a new set of glasses frames. So, they were all very polite and everything. And I was very, very nice to them. I told them, I'm not trying to give you guys a hard time, but when I call and you tell me you have a solution that's going to cost me $50, and I'm talking to a guy for 3 minutes before he tells me I have to buy everything from you all right from the ground up, it's a little, it feels like a goddamn mechanic shop, an auto body shop. Anyways, so that got solved. They were all super nice to me in the end. I was very, very nice to them. I think I gave them all a free ticket for Absolute Comedy. You know what I mean? Made them all very, very happy. But the idea is, I guess the point of the story that I'm trying to tell you guys is that don't take no for an answer, especially in sales places. Do you know what I mean? Like if I had just accepted, and I even pushed back a little bit, like, yeah, sorry, we got no choice. But the fact that I was like, well, this is kind of horse shit, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like anyways, I told you the story. I'm not going to repeat myself. So yeah, don't take no for an answer and stand up for yourself a little bit, because again, if I had done what they said, I would have forked out several $100s more than necessary. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel that made my day, even though I was spending money I didn't want to, be spending. That's the worst thing, stuff like that. Cars, anything medical, you could be looking at your budget going, fuck, I'm doing okay. And then something happens. You go, shit, that was several $100s I didn't need to spend right now. So I guess I felt better, especially them giving me that prognosis that as soon as the glasses broke, as soon as they broke in my hand, I'm like, fuck, I don't need this right now. So I did feel better when they told me $50, and I still felt better yet when we found the frames that we didn't have to go the whole from the ground up route. So all in all, happy ending, but a bit of a stressful Saturday afternoon, I could say. Came home, worked on taxes a little bit, and I played a game. I haven't played video games in some time now, but it was late night by the time I was done doing work and stuff, and I decided to poke around on the PlayStation Store. Right, every month you get like 2 free games, or twice a month you get 2 free games on both Xbox and PlayStation. I realized it's been some time since I've even turned on those machines. So I'm like, well, I don't want to miss out on my free shit. So downloaded the free stuff, and I was dicking around on the PlayStation Store, and I found this virtual reality game called, I think, Werewolves Within. And the idea is it's just it's basically a board game that already exists, but the virtual reality version of it. And the idea of the game is everyone's sitting around in a circle. Some people in the circle are villagers. Some people in the circle are werewolves. And you're trying to determine who the werewolves are and who the villagers are. And basically everyone's just chatting with each other. Because it's virtual reality, you can sort of lean over to the people who are next to you and you can whisper, and then other people can't hear what you're saying. And everyone's just chatting with each other. It's a deception game. You're basically lying, and werewolves are trying to, throw people off their scent. And at the same time, people who are really, just villagers or something, it's hard to trust anybody in the game. So you're basically going on what people's actions are and what they're saying to try to deduce who the werewolves are. So it was a fun game. I actually ended up playing it for several hours. Just fucking around and meeting people in other parts of North America, making them laugh and plugging the podcast. I got a couple new subscribers out of it. So, very fun in that regard. But that's how I spent the vast majority of my Saturday was deep in virtual reality. And of course on Sunday we had our writers group. So back to writing some stand-up jokes. It was Kamar, Mike, Paul, and myself. And it was a good time. We talked a lot of shop. That's kind of one of those hard things you do in comedy. So you get into shop talk a lot, but we had a good time. Had to cut it short a little bit though, because I did have to work my last shift at the mobile shop. So it was 4 hours, but we're usually much longer into those writing groups. I had a great time. Those guys both were performing a couple spots since, so I'm looking forward to talking to them to see how their spots went after writing some stuff. They've all got new material that they're working on. It sounds quite good. I had to work my last shift in the mobile shop on Sunday. So I left, showered, worked for an hour and a half just because they needed me to fill a little spot. And I got to say, I feel pretty good being done there. It was a great spot. Thank you to Camo and Samaya, who are my only 2 coworkers at that place. They were both super awesome. And I will definitely go back and visit them. But I'm glad to be just, holding my own leash again in terms of what I'm doing work-wise. Is, I'm not committed to working anybody else's schedule and having a committed amount of time. We've talked about this before, but yeah, it's nice to be able to just wake up and go, okay, today I'm going to do this, that. I'm still doing the tastings. I'll still be driving Uber from time to time, but the truth is, I'm just looking forward to being able to say no to a gig instead of someone going, you got to be here 3 days a week. No, you can do it when you want to. So Did our my last shift at the mobile shop, came home, changed because it was the Absolute Comedy staff party on Sunday night. So everybody from the Ottawa Club went to Zola's, a nice restaurant out in Bell's Corners, and we drank and ate on Jay's dime. Did we ever? We were getting fucking, well, we were getting loaded. It was nice. It was nice to have everybody together. The Kingston staff from Absolute Comedy Kingston actually came to Ottawa and worked the club so that all the staff could go out and drink and have a good time. So that was very, very cool. Had a nice dinner. Met some of the staff I've never met before because there is turnover at the club, and since I'm not there as much, especially not doing Mondays anymore, it was nice to meet some new people and shoot the shit, have a good time. So that was fun, and then we went to play bowling. I'm fucking terrible at bowling, and it being Tuesday, this was Sunday the party. My ass and legs are still super sore, so I guess I had enough drinks to really get into the bowling. So much so that I guess I worked a lot of muscles that I don't normally work. I was awful at bowling. Absolutely awful. Like, my 3 pitches would be like gutter ball, one pin, gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball, strike, gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball. Like, that was how bad I was. In fact, I was joking later. If you looked at my frames on the screens up above, it was just hyphens, 6 hyphens in a row, and then like a 5, 6 hyphens in a row, then an X, and then 6 hyphens in a row, a 2. So it was pretty funny. I had fun. I really don't pride myself on being a particularly good bowler. Damn it. Is that a fat joke? I don't pride myself on being a good bowler. If I fell down the stairs and you were going up them, it would probably feel like that. No, I don't pride myself on being a good bowler. So it didn't bother me that I was doing particularly bad because, again, I was still drinking at the open bar. So we had a good time. And then we came home. Here's the thing. So we came home at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And a few of the people from the club came with us, including the very funny David Pride. So David, did the last show at the club, and then they joined us at the bowling. So came back to the house. It was myself, Simon, Jason, Colin O'Brien, and David Pride. I think that was all of us. Oh, and Noreen, Jason's lovely lady, went to bed. So I think there was 6 of us around the table, though. So Jason, Colin, and Logan from the club, Logan Avery Cooper, a funny comedian and manager of the club. So yeah, we were all sitting around having drinks, playing a small little game called No Thanks, just a little basic math game with tokens. And we played that for hours and continued to drink until the wee morning. So late so that actually Kamar gets up super early to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And Kamar was getting up and going to work when we were getting ready to call it quits. So it was a very fun staff party. Basically a 12-hour straight staff party from 6 p.m. till 6 in the morning. What I did yesterday was I nursed a hangover. I think I woke up at 5 p.m. Woke up a couple times to chug water and limp to the bathroom as my ass was so fucking sore. And that's what I spent the vast majority of my Monday doing, was sleeping, nursing a hangover. I did start, reading some articles and prepping for the podcast. But yeah, it was definitely a recoup day. I'm too old to just drink all night. I've said it before. And I was drinking beer. I did do mixed drinks, but I was drinking beer primarily. And it makes me feel worse. I can drink my scotch, I can drink my wines, and it doesn't affect me as much as drinking beer. There's also, I think, a lot more calories in beer. Could be wrong, but anyways, too old to drink all night. That's what if I do a comedy album, that's what we'll call it. That's my new thing, is say something stupid and then you can name an album after that. So, sorry, I feel fine now except for the muscles that are still sore. My butt muscles, my glutes. So, yeah, I don't know. I had a fun week. It was a lot less intense than other weeks because I was working less. So I'm putting a lot of that effort into the, when I say personal, I mean my paperwork and computer stuff that I got to get done. Trying to find more sponsors and things like that. Like I said, that's the thing now, is I got to get back to, myself starting stuff, because if I don't have to be anywhere, then I got to make sure I'm making the most of it every day. So back to the gym, back to meal prep, right? That was the whole idea. You don't just quit a job for nothing. I quit it to put more time and effort into myself. And that's what I intend to do. God damn it. Sorry, I'm just drinking the ginger ale here. I've had a bit of a sore throat all week. It doesn't feel sick. It's just sore. So the gingembre helps. I do want to say a very big congratulations to Monkey Junk. They do the theme song for the One Man Podcast. They won Best Blues Album at the Junos, which is the Canadian Grammys, and for their album Time to Roll. So congratulations to them. They're an awesome band. You guys need to check them out. If you haven't already, if you have Apple Music or Spotify, just throw in Monkey Junk. Throw in Monkey Junk and hit play. Listen to some of their songs. They're fucking outstanding. Clearly, 2-time Juno Award-winning band, Monkey Junk. Right? So good for them. I'm super, super proud of those guys. Personally, right now, I'm trying to get myself back into Ubering, but my car is so dirty. It's just dusty as hell on the inside. I think it hasn't had a detail in about a year, and there's so much, stuff that goes into it and out of it, with all the tasks and errands and big shops and stuff. It needs a cleaning. So I finally got a call back from my detailer this morning, who's giving me a detailing the 24th of April. So I just begged and pleaded with him to say, hey man, can you put me on like a standby list just in the odd chance that somebody cancels and you need to fill the spot, because I would love to get my car cleaned sooner. So that's one of the things I'm doing. I got to get my taxes finished. I don't know exactly what the cutoff date is for taxes, because I still haven't finished them. Damn near close to finish the 2016, and then I got to bang out 2017 lickety split tits. So I'll do that. And I think one of the things I'm going to start doing again for like the health and fitness is I'm going to start using MyFitnessPal app again. It's easy to lose track of how many calories you're intaking and stuff like that when you're not tracking them, right? So I was getting good results when I did that. So MyFitnessPal, getting myself to the gym, getting the thing too is with all the stress and anxiety, I need to get this. The reasons I keep mentioning it and I keep intending to do it, and then something comes up. It's easy to get yourself distracted from the shit that you don't want to do. And, but at the same time, the stuff that you don't want to do still sitting there lingering, is a real easy way to, keep building up the stresses that make you do the things you don't want to do. So for me, it's like the eating and the drinking and stuff like that. I just want to be able to get up and do the Uber in the morning, do a little bit of writing in the afternoon, go to the gym, right? Do some meal prep, like just a nice, easy little turnover thing. You're earning cash, whatever. We'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks, but, fingers crossed, but really at the end of the day, it's effort and taking the time to do what you got to do. So that's what I'm going to be working on is getting that tax stuff finished, getting myself back on the road for Uber and using the MyFitnessPal again and going to the gym. This last week I watched the Scream series. So while I was doing my nerdy stuff, I had the Scream series from Netflix on in the background. And I got to say, it was a great put it on in the background show. Like the One Man Podcast. But I don't know if you guys were fans of the original Scream series. I remember that was one of the things throughout high school. Those movies were coming out when I was in high school. Particularly Scream 2, 3, that kind of thing. And I loved them. We were excited for them coming out. You know what I mean? It was the renaissance of the faceless killer genre, right? Like now, when Scream came out, you all of a sudden started getting these movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer and maybe My Bloody Valentine or whatever. I think that was a remake, but the point being is that there was like this all of a sudden this just revamp of all of the the killers coming and you don't know who he is and who could it be, and maybe this person's a killer, that person's a killer. So they had a lot of this. A lot of those movies coming out when the Scream movies came out. So Scream as a series was pretty exciting. Like, oh my God, they're going to have and then it was just like, I think I watched the first episode like 3 times and never got into it. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to put these on. But it turns out that apparently this month there's supposed to be the 3rd season of it coming out, and they've decided to completely revamp the show and recast the characters. So that could be fun. But I would say if you're a really big fan of the Scream series, this isn't it by a long shot. And I think I read somewhere that it's MTV that was producing it. So that should give you a big oh, you mean the people who did the Jersey Shore, that compelling piece of drama. So anyways, I finished that. It was fun. And I started listening to It on the audiobooks. I got a free trial of Audible, so I'm ear reading it. And I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It's 44 hours long, so I figured if I'm going to use my free token on something, I'm going to use it up on a long book, not a short one. So, something 1,000 pages plus. That's what I'm listening to right now is it. And I may as well say it because my buddy Chris has sent in an email and he addresses it as well. The partner that I got, that I was telling you guys about last week, that didn't tell me that Canadian subscriptions won't do anything for us, was in fact Audible. So I have a URL that if any of my US listeners want to click on or whatever, it's like I'll get they'll kick some money back. But the way it works is for Audible, if you sign up for their free trial, you do get a free book. And then you can buy books through that later on if you want. You can cancel anytime you want. But the idea is that you guys could have clicked on Audible, got yourself a free book, and they'd kick $15 my way per person that I sent. But the vast majority of my people are in Canada, and if any of the Canadian people click on it, it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't track it because it switches you to the Canadian site. Very disappointing. So when I address that later on, you guys can still do it, but it would have been a lot nicer to have been able to give you a free book, and you guys are sending money back our way. So that was the sponsor that came and went all in the same day. Just because there's no benefit. I'm not going to send them hundreds of people, and they're getting, free customers for nothing. So that was the one plug that they'll get from me. So yeah, that was, that's what I did. I basically was in the process of setting up the whole Audible thing as a partner, and I decided to download it. So I've been listening to that, while doing laundry and folding things and whatnot. And if I'm doing a little bit of paperwork, I find that if I'm doing the tax stuff, I can't listen to it because I just get distracted with reading the receipts and stuff, and then I miss parts. And Stephen King is an outstanding author. He really, really writes well and puts you in the space that he's writing about, and just is so good with visual. Like he was just describing last night when I was listening to it, he was describing a woman lighting a cigarette, and just the way he was talking about the flame dancing first to the right side of the cigarette and then to the left before finally finding the center of it and catching flame. Like I was like, and everyone understands just that small little thing, but the idea that sometimes when you go to grab with the flame, it does sort of flip around before it grabs and starts, burning. And I just thought, like, this guy writes incredibly well. I've been a big Stephen King fan since I was a little kid. Well, little kid, no, young adult, I would say is more accurate. But anyways, so yeah, it is a good read. I watched was it Thursday night? I think, yeah, Thursday night I watched it with Jason. We rented it on the Rogers box downstairs. So we watched that. Jay didn't like it, but he's not a big fan of horror movies. He could not understand. Like he goes, what? He goes, was there blood in the bathroom or not? I go, well, there was, but the adults can't see it. He goes, then it's not there. I go, well, no, the kids see it. Adults don't believe, so they don't get to see it. And he's like, what? It doesn't make any sense. It's not possible. He goes, it's either there or it's not. And I'm like, okay, like you have to suspend your disbelief. We're also talking about a fucking evil clown from space or whatever. Like, you have to suspend some disbelief. Understand that if you don't believe in that stuff, then you don't see it, and it's preying on their fears. But anyways, so we watched it, and then I started listening I was actually listening to the book during the day while I was doing my nerdy stuff. And he goes, what is this? And that's when we just thought of the idea to watch it. I enjoyed it. I think that was my third or fourth time seeing it. Still enjoyed it. Still very much looking forward to the second one. But that was that, guys. That was my week in a nutshell. Nothing too terribly exciting. I think just catching up on rest and getting myself back into a place where, I know what it is that I want to do. And with that, we will get right into the sponsors, guys. Of course, always starting with my partners at portablepress.com, Uncle John's Bathroom Readers. And this week, because I was drinking beer, drinking beer and feeling it yesterday particularly, I decided to go into the Beertopia book that I have. Beer, it's all about beer and ales and stouts and fun things like that. And I figured I found a great article called Ancient Beer, and it goes back telling us a little bit some of beer's origin. So without further ado, here's Ancient Beer. When we say ancient beer, we don't mean that one weird beer at the back of your fridge that someone brought over for a party but never drank. Really, beer has been around for thousands of years, and while the exact circumstances of its birth have been lost to the sands of time, archaeologists and anthropologists have turned up some fascinating evidence in their quest to trace the origins and development of man's greatest invention. Humans have been drinking fermented beverages for a very long time, and although this shouldn't surprise anyone, they didn't always taste much like beer we know today. 1, it was served at room temperature. 2, it didn't include hops. And 3, it was a heck of a lot thicker than your average ale. What the first brewers did use is up for debate, but the current evidence suggests that as far back as 9,000 years ago, the ancient Chinese mixed fermented rice with honey, hawthorn, and other natural sweeteners. In Mesopotamia, beer started as bread loaves that were chopped up and soaked in water, stomped, strained, and flavored with an assortment of additives that included dates, honey, ginger, and mandrake root. The Mesopotamians took their beer pretty seriously, believing their brewers, usually women, were protected by an array of deities that included Nikasi, the goddess of alcohol. The goddess of alcohol? Isn't that Suki? No, the first liquor laws showed up on the books in 2100 BC when the Babylonian king Hammurabi devoted a portion of his code to tavern regulations. Of course, early brewing methods being what they were, the results could be highly variable. What passed for beer back then bears little resemblance to today's brews, not least because it was thick, not carbonated, and, in the case of the ancient Sumerians, sipped through a straw. Plenty of drinkers felt the same way back then, too. In and around Rome, where grapes were abundant, beer never even remotely approached wine in popularity. Elsewhere in Europe, however, beer reigned supreme. After the 13th century, when Bohemian brewers managed to fine-tune the addition of hops, which preserved the beer, in turn allowing for production and export on a far greater scale. Not everyone appreciated it. In England, for a time, there was something of a standoff between traditional unhopped ale and the newfangled hoppy beer. But by the 16th century, hops reigned supreme. This ascension was perhaps most notably reflected in the Reinheitsgebot, a purity law decreed in 1516 by William IV, Duke of Bavaria. This law mandated that beer be made only from water, barley, and hops. The addition of yeast was still about 2 centuries away. All those eons of brewing helped lead to your favorite modern-day beers, but there are definitely drinkers who feel we may have lost a few things along the way. Chief among them, the experience of imbibing beverages blessed with the broader and more complex flavor that come from stuffing one's brew with the grab bags of herbs and spices used thousands of years ago. To that end, some brewers have started pursuing modern recreations of ancient recipes painstakingly pieced together using information gleaned from archaeological digs. Dogfish Head's Ancient Ales line, assisted by anthropologist Patrick McGovern, includes beers such as Midas Touch, based on molecular evidence found in a Turkish tomb believed to have belonged to King Midas, and Chateau Yahoo, brewed with ingredients unearthed from a 9,000-year-old tomb in China. Whether the old stuff tastes better or worse than your average 21st century six-pack is totally up to your palate, of course. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Ancient Beer from my partners at portablepress.com, Uncle Bathroom Reader, Uncle John's Bathroom Reader. Can you tell I'm a little distracted right now? And of course, as always, my partners at Absolute Comedy, thank you kindly for a wonderful Christmas party. Absolute Comedy is the best live stand-up comedy from across North America, with locations in Kingston, Toronto, and Ottawa, Ontario. These comedians have been featured on Just for Laughs, Netflix, Comedy Central, CBC's The Debaters, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Conan, The Comedy Network, and much, much more. Go to absolutecomedy.ca to see this week's lineup. Planning a night out is easy with dinner and show packages available at all locations. Live comedy is a great choice if you're organizing a celebration, fundraiser, company outing, or corporate event. Want the show brought to you? They'll send comedians to your venue with performances tailored to your event, creating a night of laughs your guests will love and won't soon forget. So for showtimes, ticket prices, gift certificates, special shows, and more, head to absolutecomedy.ca. Again, that's absolutecomedy.ca for the best live stand-up comedy from across North America. And we're back. And funny enough, the two different places that we were drinking on Sunday night for the Absolute Comedy staff party, neither one of them had Summersby. So you believe I was talking to those places about my pals at Summersby, and still very excited and looking forward to the release of Summersby Watermelon, and I will give you guys details on that as soon as I know. The sun gives life to the orchard. The orchard gives life to the apple. The apple gives life to Summersby. Summersby is a delicious sweet taste of sunshine, imported across the ocean all the way from Denmark. The people in Denmark are smarter, and so are you if you drink Summersby. With flavors like apple, blackberry, pear, elderflower lime, red rhubarb, and a taste as regal as this fake accent, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And now you can try them all in the Summersby Mixer Pack, available wherever fine beverages are sold. So go on and try for yourself the crisp, refreshing taste of Summersby. Your taste buds deserve it. Please drink resplendently. And who is that leaving out? Who is that leaving out? I always ask every single week at this time. My friends at DK Books. I love those guys. You know what? I love all my sponsors, but there's a special place in my heart for DK Books. And you know why? Because they teach me things. You know, I love portable press, but such small pieces of information, no pictures, or very few pictures. No, I'm kidding. I love DK. I have not sat down and read one of their books this week, but I have received another shipment of books from them, which I'm very excited to read. The first one that I'm going to tell you guys about is the Marvel Cinematic Universe 101. It basically gives you, I think it's called Marvel Studios 101. But what it does is it actually is a book designed entirely to take you through all of the movies right up to the end of Black Panther, getting you ready for the Infinity War. So if you're someone who is maybe enjoying some of the Marvel movies, you haven't seen them all, or you have some questions or are trying to put things together, this book will tell you everything that you need to know right from the first movie, which was Iron Man, right up to where they have left off with the Black Panther movie, preparing for Marvel or the Avengers Infinity War coming out April. Ooh, is it exactly, today is the 27th, 28th for you guys, but it's going to take you exactly a month. A month to today's date is when Infinity War comes out in theaters. And I personally have a giant nerd boner for that movie, all right? There's a lot of fucking superheroes, a lot of superhero story. So I'm very excited about this book, guys. DK will tell you all about it, and I will give it a proper review a little closer. That's one of the books that they sent me. They also sent me How Science Works, which is a book in a series of a how series. So I believe currently, I'm just going to turn my head a little bit and keep my face in front of the microphone. They have how food works, how the body works, how money works, and now how science works. I also have one called How Business Works, but they're sending me the newer version of that one, so I will give it a review when it comes. But as it stands, and the DK's got, again, amazing books, amazing series. They've sent me so many different things. So I'm excited to give the How Science Works a nice little review once I've read that. And then, of course, they sent me two more whiskey books that just, I'm, again, loving the whiskey. I'm nosy. That's very preferential. If you're not into it, I get it. But just a reminder, DK very, very likely has great books on things that you yourself are interested in. They have an amazing just sex and relationship book section. So, I mean, there's so many different topics and things. If you're into books of any kind, and as I mentioned that they're amazing at marrying imagery with their, the information, it's outstanding, guys. So what they've sent me was the World Whiskey book and Great Whiskeys, How Science Works, and the Marvel Universe 101 book. So I'm excited to read those. So thank you, DK. I will get you guys some reviews on those soon. They also sent me a really cool book bag, and I'm just waiting to hear back if they would be cool with me giving that away. So if they do want to, if they're okay with me giving that away, one of my lucky listeners, if you guys are DK fans as well, I might get you to post make a post with your favorite DK book, a picture of you with your book as an entry or something. I'll figure that out. I'll see if they'll let me do it, but it's a very cool book bag. I've got so many book bags as it is. I might not need it. I'd rather go to a fan, one of you guys, give you something. So, dk.com, and that would be a great spot for you guys if you want to check out the books that they have, or any of the ones that I've mentioned thus far under the podcast. So thank you to all of my sponsors, of course. As soon as I'm done recording, it's Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to be going to the Sens game tonight, Ottawa Senators. We've been invited to the Labatt box for that. So speaking of beer, looks like I might be having some more this evening. And I had different plans tonight. I don't know if any of you are interested in this, or even if any of you are even aware. Well, it would have been last night. It's too late for you guys. That's the funny thing about recording a day in advance. I do it to make sure that I don't miss doing it. I'm not going to record it on Wednesday, and then you get it Wednesday evening, and who's going to listen to it then? I need to have this ready for you so you can listen to it on your way to work or at your cubicle or while you're sitting and relaxing, a little bit of time off. So as it stands, tonight is Tuesday, is the reboot of Roseanne on ABC. So the entire cast from the original show Roseanne is going to be reunited, and their first episode comes out tonight. So I got asked to go to the Sens game earlier today, but my plans were to watch the new episode of Roseanne. So at this point, I would wonder if any of you guys have watched it and what you thought. I may try to see if I can find it online, or if I can figure out how to work the Rogers box and actually record the episode. Cause I love that show. That was my favorite show. And, I'm super excited. I might even post, on the One Man Podcast page, a link to like the trailer on YouTube or something, but, super, super jazzed for Roseanne coming back. So I'm going to miss that this evening, but I hope that I get a chance to catch it, or if someone can write in and tell me if they saw it and what they thought of it, would be outstanding. I got some tastings coming up this weekend. So as usual, I'm loving working with my company here. They do great by me. And on Friday, I'm super excited. I get to spend the day and the night with Michaela. I haven't seen her in a very long time, and certainly haven't spent any time with her in a long time. So we were able to find a time that worked for the two of us. Very, very excited. And yeah, I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day, great sleepover. I can't fucking wait. And that's it. It's so great looking at my notes here, and instead of going I work this day, I work that way, then I do this other job, then I do that. I'm just looking at it here going, hey, you got a couple tastings, and then that's it. The rest of it is you time. So I will definitely make the most of it. I will probably bump into a bunch of different situations that I may have stories for you guys for next week, but I'm feeling real good about the time opening up and having, more me time. But we'll have some good updates coming forward. We'll leave it at that for now. It's time to get to your guys' emails. And as usual, you can email me at contact@onemanpodcast.com. If you guys want to tell me any of the things that you're going on, that you have going on, or any of the things that you're working on, I'd love to hear them, or just tell me your favorite fucking book or story or hobby that you may be into that you think nobody gives a shit about. Like, again, I mentioned, I talk a lot about board games now. I'm really liking the social aspect. They're fun. You're hanging out with people, so it's social and it's a good time. I find it to be particularly inexpensive in the sense that, I'm in the process of buying games, right? But once you got a big stack of them, you can just use what you got, and there's good times to be had. It's very, very fun way to sort of keep the entertainment going without everyone just sort of sitting around a table getting bored and going, well, anyways, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? So if any of you guys have hobbies out there that you think, I got this thing, but a lot of people like fucking knitting. I would love to know how to knit. You get to make your own clothes. It's amazing. But some people might be like, that's a silly hobby. I think it's fucking great. So tell me what you're goofy. Does anybody have any guilty pleasures that they would want to share, right? Anyways, the point being is anything you guys send in, I will read. contact@onemanpodcast.com. My first email comes from a very good friend, Vanessa in London, aka Red. Red writes in, I'm fairly certain I've told you a few times, maybe not via email, no spoilers. Especially for movies that are still in theaters. Included in this is escape rooms too. So there, you keep bitching about us not letting you know. Now you know. Well, thank you, Red. I do appreciate it. It's funny because I don't know. I think you had mentioned once before, don't spoil that movie Annihilation, which I did not. But I was just always wondering, because sometimes you'll hear, I have other podcasts that I hear where they'll tell you in depth about everything. And there's so many things on the internet, whatever, where they're like, all right, spoiler alert. Oh, okay, but now we're going to talk about it. So for me, it's just gauging, it's one of those things with the podcast is that nobody says anything, and then I do it, and then I get in shit. So I guess just trying to provoke the whole, if everyone's enjoying it more, if I just talk about the whole thing, then that's what I'll do. But I think I've always been pretty good at keeping my distance from actually really revealing much about something and just giving it a broad strokes review. So not trying to make it vague, just trying not to ruin it for anybody. I would hate for, movies to get ruined for myself. So I think I've done so far pretty good. I hope you're not upset about me ruining Open House. That was me taking a stab at spoiling a movie, one that was definitely not worth watching by anybody. So I will go forward with no spoilers. So far, I've got one voice in the darkness saying no spoilers. So if anybody else, if you want to outnumber Red, you guys know where to send it. But I do appreciate your email and thank you. So going forward, my barometer is leaning towards the no spoiler thing that I was sort of started with. Appreciate that. And in terms of escape rooms, I don't think I've ruined any escape rooms on the podcast. I've only done one ever. So, escape rooms and movies. Anybody have anything else that they don't want me to spoil? Send it in. Let me know. Chris writes in, "Hey Josh, today, Wednesday, is my birthday, and to celebrate, I'm going to give everyone my opinion on something. Here is yet another recommendation, but this time it's not board games. No, this time it's a book." So happy birthday to you, Chris, as you are listening to this on Wednesday. This winter I've had a chance to read a handful of books, some with my eyes, but most with my ears. The review is of the latter. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline in 2011. I didn't jump on the hype train and read the book because of its big screen debut. I came to learn about this book because, one, I like audiobooks. My winter work, which often has me working alone, doing mundane tasks, give me a lot of time to listen to stuff. And two, I'm a fan of Will Wheaton, who narrates RPO, which is Ready Player One, I assume. I didn't learn about the film until I was about 2 minutes into the book and started Googling shit. Trust me, if you read/listen to this book, you will be Googling shit. The book takes place in a dystopian 2044. Oil is at an all-time low, making travel very costly. A large portion of the population lives in stacks, which are trailer homes stacked on top of trailer homes. None of this is of any real importance. I just don't feel like I'm doing my part unless I give you a novel to read. Okay. In this near possible future, everyone spends time on the Oasis. The Oasis is what you'd get if you mixed a massive multiplayer online game with the entire internet, all within a hyper-real VR experience. Instead of going to Amazon.ca to do some shopping, you would take a public transit shuttle on your own ship, or even teleport if you're able to the virtual planet where Amazon is located, and browse as you would if you were in an actual store. Want to see a movie with friends? There's a planet for that too. Virtual coffee? You got it. You get the point. Everything we would normally do in the real world would be done now in the Oasis, except you would look as hot, sexy, buff, epic as you want. It's like that shitty country song says, "I'm a whole lot cooler online." This, paired with the bleak reality that is the real world, is why everyone uses the Oasis. There are also planets that allow you to quest, gain armor, weapons, level up, and beat the virtual shit out of each other. Want to go through the entire season of Friends as if you were Ross? Who wouldn't? Me. I wouldn't. There's a planet for that. Anything is possible. The book begins with a video reading of the last will and testament of James Halliday, the creator of the Oasis. In his will, he tells everyone that he has hidden an Easter egg somewhere within the massive universe, and whoever finds it will get his $200 trillion fortune and complete control of the Oasis. You can guess where the book goes from there. Sorry, but my head tilted way down, but trying to keep my mouth up to the mic, so that's why I'm reading all fucking weird. This book focuses deeply on 1980s everything. Movies, arcade games, music, pen and paper RPGs. The pop culture references are unreal. That's what I meant when I said you will be Googling shit. If you're at all into the setting of Stranger Things, then you will enjoy this book. Even if you don't, it's a really great read. Should you read it before you see the movie? That depends on what type of person you are. If you get upset when a movie isn't a complete scene-for-scene recreation of a book, then no, you shouldn't. Stick to one or the other. I say this because after seeing the trailer, I noticed that the Iron Giant is present in the movie, and although he is mentioned in the book, the giant robot that is supposed to be present is either Leopardon or Ultraman. Both are 80s Japanese TV robots. I'm certain many other changes were made. I can understand why they would need to make changes like this. There are so many licenses in the book that it would be near impossible to get the rights to put them all in a movie, so substitutions are necessary. The audiobook was well done, and Will Wheaton was a great choice as narrator since his career happened largely in the 80s. And if you follow him on social media, you would notice that this genre is right up his alley. He gives a shit about the material he is actually referenced in the book. Now, I know what a lot of people think about audiobooks. They picture Ben Stein drooling on in his monotone voice that he's so famous for. Bueller. That movie is also referenced. But it's not like that. they actually get actors to do the readings. Now, the readings aren't all like Jim Dale's phenomenal readings of, sorry, let me rephrase that because there's so many things. So now the readings aren't all like Jim Dale's phenomenal readings of the Harry Potter's heptology. Look it up, I did, where he gave each and every character a distinctly unique voice, but they do read them well with the proper tone to help set the atmosphere and pacing of the book. Audiobooks can also be expensive, but if you go to audible.com, free plug, yeah, no shit, sign up for your free month, you get one free book to download and keep. Then cancel your subscription or keep it. Whether you read the book yourself like a big boy or have someone else read it to you, I highly recommend Ready Player One. Now about what to call your audience listeners. Oh, sorry, your awesome listeners. Yes, you guys are outstanding. So Chris makes 3 suggestions here. First one is onesies, because we keep you warm and cozy and feeling safe. Well, not just that. It's just I just actually think it's a really cool name. That the onesies, One Man Podcast listeners, onesies. We got that one. Then you have the maniacs, because it's a play on the word man, and then a shrugging emoji. No, I think maniacs. I just think in this climate, going with the maniacs, calling anybody who isn't a man a maniac, is just offensive. But I do like to play on words. And then you have Jerry. I stole this one from Plaid Hat Podcast, who call their listeners Dougs. They started doing this during the infancy of their podcast when they thought no one was listening. They started referring to their one listening as Doug. After that, people started writing in saying, Doug here. If you don't know why I chose Jerry, you'll have to ask me personally. Think back to high school. The second I read the word Jerry, Chris, I read the word Jerry, I thought about the time that all of us were over at Devonshire in the play yard there, and we met that drunk fucking guy who's trying to climb the fence, all that named Jerry. Jerry was a big reference in high school, and not for a moment did I not think that you meant that. But if you didn't mean that, then you'll have to correct me. But Jerry reminds me of that, even before I got the think back to high school part. Take care, homie, he said. Thank you very much, Chris, for writing in. You're a very well-written dude, I gotta say. Very articulate. So thank you for your emails. And Ready Player One, yeah, it looked like a good movie. I saw in the trailer, I saw the DeLorean, I saw Chucky, the Iron Giant was in there. So there's a lot of different things that were available in that trailer, but all of them, I think, Universal based, because I know Universal did the Back to the Future, and I know Universal does Chucky. So I'm interested in seeing a lot of. I'm interested in seeing the movie. It looks fun to begin with, and it's. I think it's Steven Spielberg is directing it, and it's been a long time since he's actually directed something. But all of his movies are usually pretty good. So very, very excited for that. And again, anybody who wants to write in anything and talk about anything, feel free. Contact at onemanpodcast.com. As usual, I want to thank all of my sponsors: Absolute Comedy, Summersby, DK Books, and PortablePress.com. And if you guys have a chance, I'd love it if you would follow me on social media. So the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. If you have a couple seconds while you're doing this, just whip out your phone, go to your social media stuff, and make sure that you're, followed or subscribed or liked or whatever it is. We're on YouTube as well, though I'm very behind in getting the episodes up on YouTube. So would love to have you there. And if you're on either of the, if you're listening on the Apple Podcasts app or the Google Play Music, give me a rate and a review on there. That would mean a lot to me. And thank you again to Tamar for referencing that to remind me to do that. Until next week, of course, guys, I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for listening. I love the fact that you're out there. Hope to have some really exciting news and stories and fun stuff for you next week. And, be good to each other. All right? Take care, guys.